And you're on.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. I'm here today with Ken, attorney at law. Look at this. He's part of my Kiwanis family. So I'm like, Ken, you have to come on the show. And he's like, really, Christy?
Yeah, she just browbeat me into it. So I said, all right.
It's like pulling teeth.
I'm like, please come on my show.
Find a half hour to entertain the masses.
I love this. I'm so happy to have you here. I mean, let's be honest. You have been doing law in this town for 34 years.
Woo.
That's true. I've been doing a lot.
It's a long time.
It is. I've been in Kiwanis, all that, and that's pretty much where everything in this community for me goes through.
Sorry.
It's where all my friends are from. You know, everything. My kids, people they know, people I know. That's all I do.
You've been in Kiwanis that long also?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I hit
heck.
town, Rick Weiss got me involved in that. He said, you got to come join this group. And we had 85 members at that time.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
That's why we ended up splitting it, and the morning club came into being.
The morning club. Just
They're
kidding,
old.
we love them.
We love them, but they're just old. It's
They're
where the old
older
people
crowd.
are.
That makes sense.
Well, if you're going to get up at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, you may as well go to a meeting because, you got to get up to pee, so you got to go.
Amen.
So.
Will we be there one day? Are you close? You're closer than I am.
We might. We might, but we'll see.
Not anytime soon.
No. I just turned 60. I know. I don't look like it.
No,
but
you don't.
I know. I had a guy the other day said, well, so what are you, like 54? And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm 60. I'm 7 years away from retirement.
So
yeah.
close to retirement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm still working hard.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the fact that when I was thinking about you and like, what am I going to talk to Ken on the show? Is like, this is my Kiwana family member who is always on vacation. I want to be you.
I'm not always on vacation.
Okay.
We just went through vacation season.
Like 3 vacations.
But then he said he's going to start spending summer times in Cali.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just bought a property.
It's too
over
hot
there.
out here. Too hot.
I hate the heat. I've been here 34 years.
Yeah.
I hate the heat, and I told my wife 3 years ago. I said, I'm done with the heat. We have a fifth wheel, and I said, we're just leaving. I'm not going to be sitting here in this 120, 125 degree heat for. I don't need to. So,
No.
you know.
Well, you're living the dream. So you have been here 34 years grinding. Let's be honest.
I have been grinding.
You didn't start out being
No.
able to take vacations.
I was poor.
You were?
I've always been poor. Well, I mean, have been poor.
Can we talk a little bit about the Riverside?
Cocktail waiter?
We just learned
We
this.
just heard this, yeah.
Come on, dude.
We never knew. We
Yes.
never knew.
So I came from Minnesota. My family is from Minnesota. My dad was a farmer. We farmed 1,000 acres, and I grew up running tractors and all that type of stuff. And then my dad ditched us all and came out here.
Well, that's where Don Laughlin's from, too, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, coincidentally. And so Dad and Mom moved out here, and I eventually, in fact, I was in college back there when they moved. And then
They left you?
Yeah, they did.
Wait till I see him.
Yeah,
He's also Kiwanian.
He is. He's in,
Oh, boy.
in our club.
Yeah.
And so we ended up coming out here. Actually, I came out here. See, I got married in 89, so I came out here in 88. Actually, I was out here 1 year between college and law school because I didn't get into law school the first year I tried to get in. So I had to take a year off. So I came out here and I worked.
Is that when you fell in love?
No.
Oh.
Nope. I went back. I got into
funny.
law school. I finally got into law school. And then that next summer, my very first summer, everybody else in law school was getting like internships for law schools, for law firms and stuff. Well, I didn't have any connections for that.
Oh, shoot.
So I came back out here and went to work at the Riverside. And as a male cocktail waiter at the Losers Lounge. It was the first year they opened up, and that was their gimmick.
And you wore pink.
And I wore.
I just have to throw that out there.
Yes, pink polo shirts and black pants.
Real men wear pink. See,
I love it. So
And
when he first came in, I was like, "So what did you do before?" And he was like, "Nothing. I've always been a lawyer." And then I dug a little bit and found that out. It's genius.
Dug a little bit.
Dug deep to get that one, huh?
And so that summer, I was here for 3 months or 4 months or whatever, and I met my wife to be, and out here she was running the theater down at Hancock. Her dad owned that, Judge Hubbard, and I met her actually one night over at a casino, and then we started hanging out, and then she came back to Minnesota with me.
That
After
was it?
summer.
Did you know? Were you like, I love you. This is it.
Crazy.
You're coming with me.
Yeah, and she was silly and foolish enough to say, "Sure, that sounds like a plan." She's older than me. She's 29, I believe, at the time, and I was
Oh,
20,
she was like, "You're
24.
a man in pink."
Well, I got a
I'm
surprise
in.
for you. Your daughter Jessica is watching. She says, "Hi, Dad. My fourth graders are also watching."
Yes.
Keep it clean, Dad. Keep
Yeah,
it clean.
keep it clean. You got
Keep it-
fourth graders watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
texted her to let her know because she's always looking at her phone when she should be teaching. But
This is
Well, she put it.
important. We're
She
going to
put
learn
it
a
on
lot
so the
today.
whole,
It
all,
is
the
a-
whole class is watching.
yeah, okay. Well, I'll try to keep it clean then. From that standpoint.
Okay, all right.
So we ended up going back to Minnesota, and she's a California girl. And it's always the dream of the Minnesota and Midwest boys to get a California girl because
Makes sense.
Beatles or not what's the name of that band? California
Beach
Girls?
Boys?
Beach Boys. And that was it, man. I had my
We're
California
like,
girl, and
listen,
she was
I
hot.
have done this.
Yeah.
She was hot.
A
huh?
little older, a little wiser.
So I got her back there, and then she discovered what Minnesota winters were all about.
Would you like take me back home? What are we doing here?
She got a job downtown, and then I'd go to law school, and we'd drive in together, and then the next year we came out for the summer, and I ended up getting a job working half-time with Dan Ayler and half-time with Richard Weiss. Their offices were right next to each other. So I got them to do that, and they learned to do that stuff. And then the next year, of course, I'm a third year, and we get through, and we end up moving out here, and I went to work for Rick Weiss.
Nice.
And things went on from there, and we got married, and we had children, and never could leave Bullhead City. We looked for years. We would take trips and look for other places. And we'd think, do we really want to raise our children in Bullhead City? It's a very small town, and it's got that casino environment. And
Yeah.
but it was a very small town, and we ended up because I joined Kiwanis right away. My entire social circle was Kiwanis.
Yeah.
And people that I knew and we vacationed with and became friends with.
So
and
you
they
wouldn't
were
just
and
be
they had
leaving
kids.
a town, you'd be leaving your whole
Everything.
society.
And my family, her family was here. Her dad and stepmom were here. Eventually, her mom moved out here from California, and then my parents were here and doing their thing.
You had no
And-
reason to leave.
Yeah. So we ended up okay. Well, if we're going to be here, then I guess we're stuck. And so my kids, grew up here and went to school at River Valley, and both.
RVHS Go Fight. I wore red for you today for
Yeah,
that.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, and Jess.
She's repping.
Jess always wanted to be a teacher, which I never understood, but she eventually that's what she's been doing for the last 10 years. And then Nick is in he went to California for school, got a really good job when he graduated, and doing really well. And so that's why we bought a house in California because
Only
he's
fair.
got a child on the way. So
Aw.
July we're gonna have a new baby.
All right. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's his first ones, and then Jess has two that are here, who are
Keep
cool.
you busy, I'm
Yeah.
very sure.
No, they're fun. Audrey and Alexander.
Aww.
So yeah, and that's it. And so it's about our community, and we've helped do things. Gary Keith Park is
Yeah.
one of the big projects that Kiwanis was helpful with, and where we run the Corn Fest.
Yeah.
And so I told you that there's a story about Corn Fest because I've been running that for the last number of years. But we restarted it because Jessica, who had moved back to town a number of years ago, had said, "Hey, why don't we do Corn Fest anymore?" And I said, "Well, we never did Corn Fest. That was a thing for Fort Mojave Kiwanis, which existed at that time. They ran that for 15 years." And I said, "Well, things kind of fell apart and everything like that." So I said, "But we could try it and see if people want it,
Right.
Because it's all about doing what the people want."
Yeah,
Try and do
if they're
that.
not coming out to visit, we're
Yeah.
not making any money and no reason to do it.
So that first year, we just did one day and did some of the stuff that we used to do, and had vendors and all, and it went really well. And so we expanded it back to the 2-day format, and we've been doing it now. I think this is our 6th year. It's either our 6th or 7th year. I can't remember. And it's going great. I mean, we do a lot for the community, and it's always at the end of October, and we do. So that's a big thing from the standpoint of it's a community thing, and we're trying to keep it community oriented with family. We don't have a beer garden.
Right.
We had a beer garden,
Yeah.
but then the pandemic shut us down. You couldn't get a liquor license for that, and so we decided not to do it. And we made more money. because
Yeah.
people weren't spending time in the beer
the beer.
garden. They were spending time with their
With their
kids, going to
family.
the stuff,
Spending
which was
money.
the whole thing. Yeah, spending that instead of a $5 or $6 beer, they were buying the tickets for the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So that went really well, and but we gave out last year. I think the number is like something like $43,000
Yeah.
or something like that
It
to
was-
different community organizations that help us and ran the games and
Yeah.
school groups.
Which is pretty cool because the students get to learn what that means to donate time
Yeah.
and, figure out what it takes to do these big projects. So I think, being in Kiwanis, I always say the example that we get to lead for our children then goes to grandchildren. I mean, you're living that now.
Mm-hmm.
And, teaching these things to these students who may not have parents who are involved in the community, they get a little piece of that as well.
Yeah, and we've got really good kid groups in this town, and really it's part of that. You got to keep kids occupied with doing
Yeah.
things, and even if their home situation isn't so good, if they've got some other place to go, like the Boys and Girls Club does a really good work on that. But, you've got all these groups, because we've got a couple Kiwanis, kid groups that
Yeah.
we're involved with. And we get them out there, and they're doing this stuff, and hopefully building that community aspect of, this is how you have a really good community. And
Yeah.
our community's really grown. I mean, when I came here, there was one stop sign.
Yeah,
One.
Wow.
So,
that's wild.
yeah, and now we got traffic that we can't. In fact, my wife says it's too much. We got too much traffic.
She's
We
like,
need-
now we need to move.
We need to go someplace else.
Get out of here.
Now we need to move.
Well, now I've given her a place to go in California. I said, well, the traffic is 4 times as bad in California, so it's really not that bad when I'm out here.
Yeah.
But we're only 10 minutes away from our son. So when they're going to have, they say they're going to have 4 kids. So my wife is just really, excited to be able to.
What's the best
do
of both
stuff.
worlds? You guys have worked really hard to set yourself up to be at this place where you can go back and forth from where both of your kids are and enjoy the California life and enjoy this life. And
That's the hope.
I mean-
We'll see how that goes.
I'm going to be you. I'm going to be you when I grow up. Yeah,
Me too.
that's super cool.
So that's family things we've been doing in the community, and I've been here 34 years since 1989, right out from there. And then, but I'm a solo practitioner, and pretty much focused in the last few years. I just do probate, trust, and wills and stuff like that because
Yeah.
it's pretty important. We got a lot of a lot of our community is older people who are here to die. Oh, I mean, eventually.
Yeah. Well,
That's what
and
they do.
He didn't mean that. No pun intended.
Well, it's
but
a good place
we're
to
all
come
going to
to
die. We know that.
Yes.
It's inevitable.
But they have lots of. I mean, we get a lot of people from other areas, and so their families don't live here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They're
so-
out here alone.
Yeah, they're coming out, and really, it's trying to get people. I find it fascinating in the job that I do the amount of people that don't properly plan
Have
and
it all
prepare,
together.
Right.
and just think things are going to. And there are rules in place that if you don't do what you want to do, the state has a plan for you, but it may not be what you wanted, but
Yeah.
you got to make some decisions along those lines with regard to that. But I hear a lot of people. There's the people who say, well, I don't want to do that because, then maybe I'll die. And it's like, you're going to die anyway.
Yeah, if you don't have
Regardless,
that
yeah.
point.
So we talked a little bit about that beforehand of the importance of getting with a lawyer or whoever that is to get your plan set, because if not, what you may think happens probably does not.
Yeah, you get everything from, we've got people who aren't married living together for 20 or 30 years, and then they discover, oh, well, that doesn't mean I get anything at all. No, it doesn't mean, just
Yeah.
that fact that has no relevance. We don't have common law marriage in Arizona. But you can do a will and you can leave everything to the person if you want. Otherwise, if they've got a kid from some other relationship, those children are going to end up with everything.
Yeah. So you
and
need
even
to
a-
get your stuff together. Is that something that they would set up with you, or who would they use?
Yeah, any attorney. I mean, most attorneys are doing wills and things like that, and they're nominal in cost. I mean, overall, you can do I regularly am doing will packages for single people around $300, and a couple $500 is pretty much.
We're getting all kinds of likes.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what
Oh,
that
and
Is that what
also-
that is?
Well, yeah. Your daughter
What's up
also
with that?
said that this is for Christy actually. A student, Terry Vincent, wants to tell Christy hi.
Oh, that's my nephew.
Yeah, he's watching.
Look at that.
See, small
See?
town,
Small
There you go.
town.
small town.
Oh, that is great. Well, so, we talked about the fact that so many families are blended families now. So really, if you don't have your trust set, you really are leaving your family kind of up in arms. Of,
Yeah, because I mean, even my own. I'll give you a personal. My brother-in-law married my sister, and he's an attorney in town, and she has
Go figure.
She has a child from a different relationship, and I was talking to him one day, and I said, "Well, you got your your will and everything, because attorneys are like." People who do
Questions.
shoes, you never get stuff done for yourself. You're doing it for
Yes,
everybody else.
very true.
He said no. He said, why do I have to worry about that? And because he doesn't know that kind of area of the law. And I said, well, here's why, is because whatever you have, if it's in Sue's name and not in your name, because people do that,
Yeah.
your stepson is going to get half, because you as the husband only get half. And he's like, what? I said, yeah. So you need to prepare for that.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, so he got his paperwork done, because that wasn't the intention, and from that, although he'll probably die first, so I don't know that makes much difference. Sue's a little bit younger than him.
You just never know these days.
But you never do.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Unfortunately.
I mean, when I do my wills and stuff with people, I'm asking them the questions that I ask them. One of the questions is always, okay, so now when you and your husband get mowed over by 18-wheeler out here on Highway 95 and die together, who
What
gets all
happens
your
then?
who gets all your stuff then? And they're like,
Crap. Do you even think
well,
about that?
how's that going to happen? I said, hey, and then I throw it, and the next one is they got like 3 or 4 kids, and I say, okay, now let's say that you die and your kids were out to visit you, and there were a couple of them. What happens to their share? Because now you're dead, and now they're dead, and does that go to the other kids, or does it go to their grandkids? And
This
people
is
don't
why
think
people
about this.
hate to do this, because
But you only have to do it once.
They don't even
You're
want
right.
to think about it.
You only have to
but
do
they
it
need
once.
to. Right.
But if you don't
But
make
it's
the decision,
reality.
I mean, I could tell you what's going to happen if it doesn't, and there's real easy ways. A lot of our there's a fair amount of processes where you can avoid the probate process by taking advantage of some of the rules associated with beneficiaries and what we call beneficiary deeds for real estate. And so by a little bit of diligence in
Yes.
doing that type of thing,
Doing
you
your
can
job
save
as
yourself
a parent, as a person.
yeah, then you don't have to pay me the big bucks in the end to clean it all up and everything. Because I mean, and it's amazing to me the number of people who somebody died 15, 20 years ago and nobody bothered to do anything with the property, and then they come in and say, well, we want to sell it, and the real estate people get it. I get this call on a weekly basis. The real estate people don't bother to really investigate the background. They put it on the market. They get a buyer. They
crap.
come in to buy it, and then
Can't
the
sell
title
it.
company says, "Sorry, you don't even own this property. I don't, and you need to do probate or do something to." And then
get
they
it.
come to me because we're supposed to close 2 weeks from now, and it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to
Should've
charge
did
you a
your
little bit
job.
more. I'm gonna have to charge you a little bit more because
I
you're
can
asking
work
me to
that
do
out for you, but-
yeah,
I'm going to work overtime. I mean,
emergency, right? Got to pay for more.
Yeah.
And then
That's right.
we work through it, but there are some that I have to file what we call quiet title actions to clear the title from the background because people disappeared and they should have filed something or signed something that needed to be, because lots of people sold property with notes and deeds of trust, and then they paid them off and nobody did anything, and it's still on the record, and you got to clear that. And
wow.
so it's a whole process from that. So fortunately,
That could be avoided. We could protect our
right.
family by having a trust.
Look into the background and doing that type of stuff. But my office, I also am a real estate broker in Arizona. So I can sell
one-stop
property.
shop?
I'm a one. Yeah, I can sell property for people, and there's lots of people. I give them the option. I say, hey, you can hire me, or you can hire whoever you want, and we end up, doing that a fair amount from that standpoint, just because they want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
From that
Yeah,
standpoint.
right.
So
You've given me lots to think about.
yeah, see,
too.
even you. Do you have your
I'm going to need your
affairs in
number
order?
after the show,
No.
You don't? You don't have a will?
Christy.
No.
Oh my
gosh.
goodness!
And I got a lot of kids and a lot of blending, and it's a lot.
It is, and you have to make
Care of this.
decisions. And sometimes those are some of those kids you don't want to give stuff to.
Oh,
You're like, no, they're not going to
Listen.
get that.
that's right.
Oh, no. I love them all. They're all amazing. Equal.
And I bet a lot
Equal,
of
all
people
of
have
them.
missed out on a fortune too by not doing that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
lot
that's
of
from that
Missed
standpoint.
opportunity. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or the missing.
Well, and you never want your family fighting over it. And let's
No.
be honest, I worked for a bank for 7 years, and the end result is
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter how family you are or how much your kids love each other or how much they don't. It will be an issue.
It's usually, I mean, and I hear that from people who will come and tell me, well, my kids will be fine. They like each other and everything. I said, you know what? My experience is it's not the direct family members. It's the people that they're married to.
Yeah.
Because they look at it and
Influencers.
go, whoa, hold on.
You deserve
Why
this
are
or
they
you
getting
deserve
more?
that.
That's
Why
right,
aren't
yeah.
you getting what you're supposed to get? Or what they think they're supposed to get? And that creates conflict. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just a part of being an adult
Yeah.
is getting that stuff done, because you could die tomorrow.
Yeah, I could die right now.
Yeah, you could
Plane
have
could
a heart
crash
I
in
hope
here.
not,
and
yeah.
You could have a heart
God
attack.
forbid.
Yeah.
No, I do think about it all the time, to be honest with you. I did have some paperwork set up when I very first got divorced because that was in protection of my children.
Yeah.
But definitely need to
Redo it.
revisit that and get things set.
Well, you know my number.
Well,
You
we have
just
a
gotta
question
call.
in the
Thank God
chat.
I
They
have a
want to know the
connection.
name of your firm.
It's Kenneth Sondgeroth PC, and it's I'm on the web.
Okay.
Just put my close to my name in there. And it'll
Yeah,
come
I do
up.
have that in the description.
Yeah, it's sondgrothlaw.com is, and I have some real. You can actually contact my office either by calling or there's emails on there and stuff like that. And we respond.
I'll put
to
it in the
everything.
chat for him.
All right.
Well, the nice
That's
thing,
cool.
we kind of talked about that also, is that the reason why you're kind of focused on the estate side of it is it makes it so that you can kind of react in a fast manner, because a lot
Yeah.
of places can't.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that mom died. They come into town to handle the funeral arrangements or whatever, and then they start looking for an attorney and say, but a lot of attorneys' offices, I mean, all of our attorney offices are really, really busy.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, they'll call and they'll say, well, we can't get you in for 3 weeks. Well, I need to
Panic,
know
right?
and they say, I need to know what to do. And it's like, well, we can't tell you what to do. You have to come see the attorney and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
My office, you call, and we usually get people in within a day or two because of that particular part of it. We know that they need to have answers, so we get them in so we can say, okay, here's the immediate things you need to deal with,
Yeah.
and this is what you're going to have to look forward to, and all this type of stuff. And if they need to find paperwork, it's like, hey, find the will. If there isn't a will, then that's fine. So yeah, so we can react quickly and do that, and it's kind of one of those things that I've impressed upon my staff. I have 2 women who work for me, Renee and Cherie. Although my daughter is coming to work for me at the
Don't
end of
tell
May.
TT, he'll be so sad.
Yeah, she's coming to work for me because she holds a real estate license, and I've got so much real estate that I have to deal with that it's taking away from my free time. So I said, hey, you need to come work for me and handle
yeah.
all the real estate.
I wanna go
so I don't have
golfing.
to do it. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I want to. Out in California,
Yes.
primarily. So that's what she's coming to work for me, and then she'll do some stuff in the office as well because she's pretty good at computers.
Well, how exciting. I mean, how exciting to be able to have a situation where, your daughter can kind of take over a little bit and give you a little relief. And
Well, that's the
That's
hope.
exciting.
Them, her, and my other gals, and as long as people start to keep dying, we'll have a job.
yeah, I feel like you're
from
okay.
this.
We got another
pretty
important question.
Oh,
Yes.
If a trust was created in California, is it valid for Arizona, or does it have to be modified?
Nope, it's still valid.
Okay.
We recognize under the code anything from anywhere, as long as it followed those rules at the time and in there. So we've never had a problem with that.
Okay, perfect.
And even wills. So if you got a will from some other place, because we had lots of people who have wills, Oregon, Washington,
Yeah,
California.
of course.
They're all valid. We from this standpoint, we
Cool.
do that a lot.
Answered his question. Perfect.
Yeah.
look at this.
Yeah, people
Man
want
of many
information.
answers.
Yeah. If you know, it's simple. If
Yeah.
you don't know, it can be a little complicated. from
Well,
that
and
standpoint.
the challenge of not knowing when someone passes away, I'm sure is
Well, it's
what you
stressful
guys-
for people
yeah.
from that standpoint. And, I actually had a client who had been in 2016 had come to me, did some paperwork for him and put everything in place. And he's recently had some medical issues. His wife had died because she was alive at that time. So him and his son came in and said, hey, we just want to check. How's this going to go when dad dies? Because, he's been in the hospital and he may not last much longer.
Yeah.
I said, well, this is what's going to happen. And they were like, oh, okay, so we don't have to worry about it. I said, no, you did the right thing,
Yeah.
6 years ago, 7 years ago, and it's all set up. You're good to go. And they were like, oh, great. So, I mean, that's diligence
Yeah, the
from
dad
this
had
standpoint.
peace of mind, the son had peace
Yeah.
of mind.
Yeah. And that's really, it's not really, I will tell you that my, to get the information I need and kind of figure out what has to be done, it literally is a 15 to 20 minute meeting in my office, do the paperwork, they got to come back and execute it. We try to get that done quickly with regard to the wills and the things that we're putting together, because I've had the experience in my early years where I would have people come in and then it took me, I know one time it took me a month to get the documents done and out, and I sent them out, and the next thing we heard back was, oh, I'm sorry, they died, so we don't need this. And I was like, oh.
So once you get the information,
we try to get it done really quickly because, and I've had a recent experience with that where the guy said, yeah, I have this disease. They say I'm going to last 4 months, blah, blah, blah. And so I got my paperwork done, sent it to him right away. Well, he couldn't come in to execute it because he wasn't feeling well. And then the next time we talked to him, it was like, well, he died, and we weren't able to get in there and do it. And I'm like,
holy heck.
Tried to do it as fast as I could so we could get that done.
So what happens with something like that? Is it
they just don't have a
kind of
will.
like
And then you're under
standstill?
under the other intestate rules. We have intestate rules in Arizona that tell you this is how it's going to go. If you don't have a will,
These
like
are
I said, the
steps.
state has a plan for you. And it may not be the plan you want, but that's the plan it is. Unless everybody were to agree to do something differently.
Yeah.
But try to explain, people say, well, you can have $250,000 or you can give it all to mom because, that's really where dad wanted to go.
Oh.
Hard for this usually a step kid who says, no, I think I'll take my $250. If dad really wanted her to have it, he'd have done something about it. And it's like, that's what the presumption under the law is, that people do what they want to do. Even if they don't know about it or how it's going to turn out, it's presumed that you do, and you can't avoid that. So it can create issues.
So it's really as simply as calling, make an appointment, making sure that your wishes are handled, whether you die
Yeah, and
now or
again,
in 20 years, you want that in
most
writing.
attorneys in this town are doing wills for anywhere from $300 to $500.
Which is, I was shocked with that price because you would think, being a lawyer, you're going to make a lot more than that. Or charge a lot more than that.
We call wills loss leaders, although really from a timing standpoint, if it's a simple will and the paperwork and stuff, it literally is not really going to take that much time to do it.
Right.
If you're an attorney and knows what you're doing.
But if he's got multiple estates and
But
businesses,
if there's other things like that, then it's a little more
and
complicated.
Bank accounts, and it could get probably pretty.
You own
difficult.
property in more than one state, you should have a trust. Because you have to probate that each property in each state, and California is the worst because in California, so out here in Arizona, you do a probate here in Arizona, it's going to cost you somewhere. My office charges a flat fee of $6,500, and there's about $500 in costs that get paid out of that. In California, it's a graduated scale by the statute. If you have a $400,000 house in California, the attorney gets $11,000 off the top of that sale, or however he's going to be paid as part of the probate process, and it goes up from there. So these guys are making bank over there because of the way that their rules are structured and how they put that in place. And so if you have a trust that holds the property, you don't have to worry about that. The trust is going to handle it. It's not going to be a probate.
I see.
And if you have property in more than one state, that trust holds. You don't have to worry about the fact that somebody died. You've got a new trustee. You can do what you need to do. You're not going to be paying all these fees and everything. So there's
much detail.
There's so many. There's only a few reasons to have a trust, but that's one. The other is if you got more than $12 million in property, then you better because the tax exemption currently at the federal level is $12.5 million for a married couple. I think it's $6 million for a single person. So there's not that many people that are going to, if you've got that kind of money or assets, you need some stuff.
Someone's already handling your stuff.
Yeah,
probably.
that's true.
So most people, when I tell them, and that's another thing people don't know, all this money or assets that you get out of an estate are tax free. You're not paying taxes on it, so you get. So from that standpoint, it's one of those things that we get people through, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, great," and then because I've, lots of people, I've got people who come in years after somebody's died. Well, we thought, you know why you thought that? Because you didn't come ask an attorney who actually knew the answer.
That's right.
Instead
do
of
the
just
right
saying
bit in the beginning.
Yeah, and then it just makes it a little bit more difficult. It just costs more money. So. They come through the door. I say,
You're actually trying to save us money.
Yes, I am.
Having us set up.
Yes, if I do everything correctly, and then you follow through and do what you're supposed to do with regard to this stuff, you don't do probate. You're never going to pay another attorney for anything.
Yeah.
If you don't
and
do
your
it,
family doesn't have to do those things.
right?
The
Yes,
people
because
you
it's all
love,
going to
the people
happen.
you
A
care
lot of things happen automatically if you do it properly. But if you don't, you're going to pay me $6,500. And if I have to do two probates because somebody else died of grief because of the fact that you died, then I'm making $13,000. they fund my lavish lifestyle because they just don't want to
So
pay
we
a
can
few
take
$100 up
vacations.
front.
Listen,
on.
I'm going to get my shenanigans together and not fund it, okay?
Yeah.
That's fine because there's plenty of people who are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I don't think I'll ever run out of business from
No.
that standpoint with regard to that. Given
Well, I think it's really cool that I get to spend time with you and have gotten to know you through Kiwanis. I think it's amazing to have a reputation that you do after so many years of being in this town.
Do I have a good
Being in-
reputation?
Yes.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
good to
some
hear.
might say you're a little grumpy sometimes, but I'm like, no, he's not.
Grumpy?
That's just, he
Brutal.
likes to put on that front.
I have very little patience anymore for people,
That I understand.
which is sometimes may come across. All my
Let's
clients
show some
love
photos.
me.
before.
Yeah, that's our Rotary, our Kiwanis.
Kiwanis,
Yes.
Jessica Terry.
We get to have lunch together on Wednesdays.
every Wednesday.
Lucky Ken.
And this is what you're going to look like when you come to do some business.
Yeah, that's it. That's in my old house.
Well, I appreciate
I don't
that
know where you got that.
It was on.
Well,
I'm telling
we-
you, I
we
stalked.
got
you.
sneaky.
Yeah.
I'm excited that you brought back the Corn Fest, Jessica. Good idea on that. I feel like our town loves it and everyone shows up for it, which is super exciting. I am so happy to have you here in the show. If you are in need, which sounds like everyone in the world is in need
Should
of
be.
getting your shenanigans together for your loved ones, for yourself, get a hold of my friend here. If you have someone pass away and they're not prepared, you'll also want to get a hold of him.
Yeah, one way or the other.
One
You
way
can
or
come
the
see
other.
me.
And I'll put
Yes.
your information up real quick so you guys can get that.
Oh, look at that.
Phone number
Look
right
at Jeff
there.
is
yeah?
so good.
Look at that.
Thank you, Jessica, for chiming in on our show today. I appreciate it. TTE, have a good day. Behave. Give me a call if he gives you any trouble.
There you go. Family involvement. That's what we need.
Family, and we show up, right?
That's right.
All right.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you guys for showing up today. Have a great day. Shop local, support local. Little
Thank
high
you much.
five for
All right.
us.
All right.
Oh, wait. I missed that. Wait,
Oh,
hold
you
on.
didn't get
Can you
that?
do that
You
again?
get that?
Oh,
Is it-
we lost our background. It's
Oh,
okay.
we better
It's
try one
okay.
more time.
There it is. It's on now. We got it. Woohoo. All right. Cool.
Have a good day. Thank you guys for showing up.
Thanks a lot.